Pauraihi Samprapta Kuru Jangalan Unmatta Muka Jadavat Vicharan Gaja Sabjaye Katam how Alakshitaha recognized Paurehi by the citizens Sampraptaha reaching Kuru Jangalan the Kuru Jangalan provinces Unmatta man Muka Dam Jadavat stunted Vicharan wandering Gaja Savaye Astinapura. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Ji Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. How was he, Sri Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasa, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapura, now Delhi, after wandering in the provinces of Kuru and Jangala, appearing like a madman dumped in the garden? Purport. Please hear. The present city of Delhi was formerly known as Hastinapura because it was first established by King Asti. Goswami Shukadeva, after leaving his paternal home, was roaming like a madman, and therefore it was very difficult for the citizens to recognize him in his exalted position. A sage is not therefore recognized by sight but by hearing. One should approach a sadhu or a great sage not to see but to hear. One is not prepared to hear the words of a sadhu, there is no profit. Sukadeva Goswami was a sadhu who could speak on the transcendental activities of the Lord. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. He was recognized when he spoke on the subject of power. He never attempted jugglery like a magician. Outwardly appeared to be a retarded and dumb madman, but in fact he was the most elevated transcendental personality. Text 7. Katam va pandave yasya rajarshirmanino saha sammadah sambhudatata itraisha sadvati shruti. Translate word to word. Katam, how is it? Va also. Pandave yasya of the descendant of Pandu Parikshit. Raja Rishi of the king who was a sage. Munina with the Muni. Taha with Samvadaha discussion. Sambhut took place. Tata, oh darling. Yatra whereupon. Yesha like this. Satvati transcendental. Shruti essence of the Vedas. Translation purport by Sivan Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. How did it so happen that King Parishit met this great sage, making it possible for this great transcendental lessons of the Vedas to be sung to him? Purport. Srimad Bhagwatam is stated here as the essence of Vedas. It is not an imaginary story, as is sometimes considered by unauthorized men. It is also called Sukha Samhita or the Vedic hymns spoken by Shukadeva Goswami, great liberated sage. विश्वमवाच इमां प्रसुप्ता सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्वदाम्ना अन्यां सहस्रचरणश्रवणध्वगादि प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं तस्मादकम्मिकविप्लवहीश्वरस्य सर्वात्मना मयि गृह्णामि यथा मनीषं नीचो जया गुणविसर्ग अनुप्रविष्टः पूयेत येन हि पुमान् अनुवर्णितेन ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णाय मुदले श्रीमहाविष्णुः नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण भ्रष्टाय मुदले श्रीमद स्वामी नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवान प्रचार निर्विशेषण आदि पश्यादि सत्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवदास हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 अनंत गौर वैष्णव. So here the discussion is going on between Sutta Goswami and Saunaka Rishis. And Sutta Goswami and the Saunaka Rishis are asking these questions to Sutta Goswami how this Sukadeva Goswami, who is such a liberated person, is asking the question in this verse 146. He says, uh, recognized by the citizens when he entered the Delhi because he was such a liberated person, completely liberated soul. So, actually, highly liberated souls, they look sometimes like mad, but because he was completely renounced, and in fact, he was not wearing any dress, he was fully naked, fully absorbed. He was completely a avaduta, like an avaduta, completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, and therefore, he doesn't care for the material formalities. And therefore, they don't want to associate with everybody. And that's why Prabhupada writes in the purport very nicely. He's not going to tell Bhagavatam according to the whims of the people they want. He's going to speak Bhagavatam as it is, the transcendental literature. And also, we have to understand dumb, madness, and then he says one more item, dumb, madness, and retarded. So, because he's fully absorbed, for the outside people, he looks like that. So, we will see how is it. Now, we will hear the story of Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami It is mentioned, I think, in Moksha Dharma and also Brahma Vaivata Puran and Mahabharat and Moksha Dharma of Mahabharat and other Purans also, Skanda Puran also. It is mentioned that Shuka means a parrot. Actually, Shukadev Goswami was a parrot. And what has happened? He was a very close associate. He was a parrot of Radharani. So always he was associating with Radharani and serving her nicely in the Vrindavan. So always he was serving. But one time, what happened? That Radharani has to finish her pastimes in the material world, and then she wants to go back to the spiritual world. And then the parrot said that, but Radharani told that you may have to stay back. Then the moment he heard the Sukha, the parrot became very upset and depressed. And then what he said, he then decided that please give me a way that I should be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Because with you, I'm always hearing the glories of Krishna. So I should be hearing about glories of Krishna, otherwise I will become mad. So you tell me what is the way. Then she suggested that you go to Kailash, where Parvati Mata and Lord Shiva, they'll be discussing Bhagavatam, and you can hear the nectarian pastimes of Krishna so that you'll be absorbed in Krishna Katha. So, hearing this, the parrot was pacified, and then he moves to Kailash. When he moves to Kailash, there he saw Parvati Mata and Lord Shiva both were sitting, and Lord Shiva is giving Bhagavatam. But what has happened? Every time he tells something, then she was saying, just by saying, I'm hearing. So sometime after some time, what happened? She yawned, Parvati Mata, and then she started sleeping. But however, the Shuka parrot was hearing the katha. And then it was telling, So Lord Shiva was also thinking that Parvati Mata is listening. So it was going on for some time. And then afterwards, the Bhagavatam was over. Then Lord Shiva closed the Bhagavatam book. And then he saw, when he opened his eyes, when he opened his eyes and saw, because he was completely absorbed in Krishna Katha, he is absorbed in Sankarsana. So what is it? He saw that Parvati Mata is sleeping. And then he woke up and then see, why you are sleeping? Because I felt tired, that's why I slept. Then how come somebody was saying who? Then he found out the parrot was there. So he was worried the parrot maybe it will repeat, but it will not understand the essence of Bhagavatam. As he said, Shruti here, Prabhupada writes, essence of Bhagavatam. So it may not understand, it may interpret in a different way, and that will not be good for the people in general. So Srimad Bhagavatam is a transcendental science, Amalam Puranam, Puranam Amalam. So since it is a Puranam Amalam, so it should not be taken and mistaken, and it should be misinterpreted. So he was worried. So then he started chasing the parrot. The parrot started going, and then it entered a place of hermitage of Vyasa Bhagavan. And Vyasa Bhagavan was sitting nicely doing the meditation, and his wife was sitting at the time, and she was yawning. So when she was yawning, then this I forgot her name actually. So what had happened? That parrot entered the mouth of the Vyasadev's wife, and then went into the body. And then Lord Shiva came to Vyasa Bhagavan and asked him, where is the parrot? I want to see. Then Vyasa Bhagavan told Lord Shiva, don't worry, he will be fully blessed with Bhagavatam, and he will not deviate away from Krishna consciousness, and then he will not misinterpret Bhagavatam. Don't worry about it. So you just carry on. So Lord Shiva left at that time. And then what has happened? Then he entered the womb. And then after entering the womb, he was there in the womb of mother for 16 years. Bhagavatam tells, 9th canto, 21st chapter, 25th verse somewhere. Prabhupada writes in the purport very nicely. I think so. That is the same purport. So he was staying for 12 years. Some other purport says 16. So it was 12 or 16. That doesn't matter. But he stayed for a long time in the womb of his mother, Vasudeva's wife. And then, and Rajabavan asked, you have now so many years old, you have to come out of the womb. But he said, I will not come out. Because once I come out, I'll be entangled in the material world and I'll be conditioned by the material nature. And therefore, I don't want to be entangled in the material nature. I want to be fully absorbed in Krishna Katha only, and I want to be a realized soul. And I don't want to go into again the material entanglement. So, in spite of so many promises from Vyasa Bhagavan, who is non-different from Krishna's incarnations, but still, Sukadeva Goswami inside never want. Then Krishna, then Vyasa Bhagavan has to go to Dwaraka and call Dwaraka. At the time, Krishna was there ruling Dwaraka. He brought Krishna there to Sukadeva Goswami's place, to the Vyasa Bhagavan's house, hermitage, and told, please give assurance. Unless you give assurance, this child will not come out of the womb. Then Krishna personally gave that once you come out, you will never be affected by the modes of material nature or the conditioning. So you will be completely liberated from your birth. You will be a transcendentalist from birth, and there is no doubt. Then after that assurance, then Sukadeva Goswami appeared from the womb. The moment he appeared in the womb, he doesn't want to get entangled with the father and mother. Immediately, Bhagavatam tells, in the previous verse you saw that he started running away from the house. He started running, and then Vyasa Bhagavan chased him. But he was fully naked and he was not at all affected. Bhagavatam tells that he cannot see a distinction between a female body and a male body. He was completely Krishna conscious. He saw Pandita Samadarshana. That is, was Deva Sarvamiti. He saw Krishna in everybody. He saw as a spirit soul, and there was no distinction. Bhagavatam tells that the moment we distinct, and then Pratak Deha, Bhagavatam tells, 4:6:47 says, Pratak Deha, we always distinguish. This is my wife, this is my son, and this is somebody else. Always we distinguish. But here, Sukadeva Goswami saw the soul in all the living entities, and even the girls were having a bath, but he was not affected. He was completely absorbed in Krishna Kada. And therefore, he was going. And then Vyasa Bhagavan tried to pick him up, but he was not willing to come. So Vyasa Bhagavan was worried that he has got the Bhagavatam, and this Bhagavatam has to go to him, and he has to teach Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. Otherwise, what will happen to this Bhagavatam? The Bhagavatam, such a volume of literature, needs to be given to the people, and it has to be propagated. It is very important. Otherwise, and that's why Prabhupada has taken a vow, and you can see that Gopalakrishna Maharaj has taken a life and soul that to one only to distribute books, because he has instructed his disciples to distribute books, and therefore distribution of books is so important. And therefore Vyasa Bhagavan was also concerned at the time, who will distribute this Bhagavatam? My son is the ideal person. So what he did, he saw that Sukadeva Goswami went into the jungle. So how to catch him? So he doesn't know what to do. So he had a very nice trick. He said that I will speak, I will send my two of my assistants so that they will convince him with the Bhagavatam. So then he told two verses from Bhagavatam, and actually the one verse is, they say 10:6:35, but some people say it is 10:21:5. To 10th canto, 25th chapter, 21st chapter, 5th verse. That gives a nice description of Krishna entering to Vrindavan forest for his pastimes, to take care of the cows and calves. That is a nice, along with the Gopas he goes. There is a nice description by the Gopis. And then one more verse talking about the transcendental and supreme quality of Daya, of mercy, to the costless mercy to the devotee. And that Rakshasha, which is Putana. So these two verses were spoken by the sages. The moment those disciples spoke the sages, Sukadeva Goswami stopped there, and he was completely amazed at the realization, at the verses. And then he said, who wrote these verses? He asked the disciples. He said, this is written by Vasudeva. So he was so much inquisitive. He immediately rushed back to Vyasa Bhagavan and started hearing Bhagavatam. And then let us see the two verses which are very important to understand the quality of Krishna and also the description of Krishna. Very nicely done by the gopis. The first is the quality of Krishna, we will see, which is very important, which is very attractive for us to imbibe in our devotional service. The first is 3:2:23. 3:2:23 means third canto, second chapter, 23rd. Beautiful verse. This was spoken by, I think this was spoken by Uddhava to Maitreya Muni. Sorry, Uddhava to Vidura. Bhakiyam stanakalakoodam jigamsayapadyasapasādvi lebe gatim datin muchitam tatonyam tammadayalum sharanam rajema. He says very nicely that Aho Bakiyam. See, Baka means Aho. Aho means oh wonderful it is. Baki. Baki means Bakasura's sister is called Putana. Bakiyam Stanakalakutam. Stana means breast. Kalakutam. Kalakutam is a poison. The moment it is said, even 100 feet or 1,000 feet away from that, the Kalakuta poison is so powerful. Just by inhaling, the people will die immediately. They will be burnt to ashes. So powerful the Kalakuta poison. She was sparing the Kalakuta poison on her breast. Stana Kalakuta. Jigamsaya. Jigamsaya means she wants to deceive. She came as a, Bhagavatam tells very nicely, she came as a gopi. She comes as a damsel from the demigods. Just like Urvashi, she took in the form of a mother and she came. She disguised herself. She was a Rakshasi, which was 12 miles long. She was a Rakshasi 12 miles long when he was killed. And therefore, she came with the objective to kill Krishna because under the instruction of Kamsa. So, Jigamsayap Asadvi. Asadvi means she was not chaste. Sadhu means chaste. We know now we saw. Sadhu means chaste to Krishna. Asadvi means she wants to deceive Krishna. So Jigamsa, because out of envy. What is envy? I want to kill Krishna. Because envy and also the chastity. The moment we are envious, we become unchaste in the devotion service. We be envy other living entity, then we become unchaste. Then we cannot be chaste to Krishna. Chastity is very important. Just like chastity is so important to girls, the chastity for a devotee is very, very important. Just like how Kunti Maharani was chaste to Krishna. And therefore, chastity is integral part of the devotee. So, unless we are non-envious, unless we develop the quality of non-envious, then we cannot develop the quality of chastity. And therefore, it is very important. So, she was envious, and because of envious, she became unchaste. As Lebe Gadip, then she obtained what is the quality? Datri. Datri means she obtained the nurse serving the Yashoda Mata. Lebe Gadim Tati Muchitam Tatonyam Kamva. Who can be more merciful than that? Prabhupada writes in the purport very nicely. You have the time you read this. Lord accepts the least qualification of the living entity and awards the highest reward. That is the standard of his character. Therefore, who but the Lord can be the ultimate? Kamma Dayalam Sharanam Vijayam. Who can be more merciful than Krishna to take shelter? And therefore, Lord sees your least qualification. We are very sincere, little bit also doesn't matter. We cannot become perfect like Arjuna. We cannot become perfect like Sukadeva Goswami. But whatever little endeavor, whatever sincerity we do, Krishna accepts that. Krishna is called Bhava Grahi Janardana. Bhagavatam tells. He takes the essence from us that whether this living entity is sincere in waking up for Mangalarti and chanting the holy names. That's what. Whether he's doing for my pleasure or for his own pleasure. That's what he's looking. He's not. But even if we have objectives, even if you have material motives, material motive is I want to get this, I want to get that, I want to get my satisfy my desires. Doesn't matter. Krishna will purify eventually, and just like Dhruva Maharaj came with the objective to become the king of the world, and then Krishna satisfied his objectives also, and then purified. And then he says, Swamin Kata knows me, Varam Nayachit. I don't want any benediction because I had the darshan of you. He was completely purified by the darshan of the Lord. So that's how we understand that this is the potency of Krishna. So that's why we have to take shelter of Krishna because he is Parama Dayalu. So unlimitedly costless. Adabra Karuna, Bhagavatam tells. Adabra Karuna, Bhagavatam tells. Also, I think Brahma also plays. Adabra Karuna. And then therefore, this is the first quality of Krishna. And this quality attracted what? This quality attracted Sukadeva Goswami to come back. And the next quality is 10:21:5. This is called, this tune is called Mandakranta. Mandakranta means the gopis were crying for the association of Krishna when Krishna disappeared. When Krishna goes to the Vrindavan forest, at that time they were feeling the separation and then they were crying for his association. And then this is the Mandakranta means slowly they will cry. And therefore, every time we chant the holy names, we have to cry for his association. Slowly we have to cry Mandakranta. This is the lyric which they care. This is the chant under which this has to be recited. So it is beautiful verse. I will recite this. Parha pidam natavarabapu karnayo karnikaram bibradvashaha kanakakapisham vaijayantim chamalam randram venu adara sudaya purayan gopavrindaihi vrindaranyam swapadaраmanam Pravishad Gita Kirtihi. Pravishad Gita Kirtihi. So, Gita Kirti means they are singing the glories of Krishna. How is he entering into Vrindavan? How he looks, Krishna looks. Barha Pidam. His head, Pidam means head, is bedecked with peacock feather. Barha means peacock feather. Barha Pidam Natavarabapu. Natavarabapu means is in Golok Vrindavan. When we go to the Vaikuntha, there's no people walk, they dance. The walking itself is so beautiful, so wonderfully they will walk. So it was so elegant. Nowadays, they do all this cat walking and all, no? These are all nothing. The real walk we can see in Vaikuntha and Golokunda. So Nata Barabapuhu Karnayoga. His ears are Karnikaram. There were Karnikaram flowers which are bedecked in his ears. Bibrat Vashaha. Bibrat Vasha means his waist is bedecked with Kanaka Kapisham, with gold, diamond, jewelry, sapphire, so many, all the jewelries were bedecked in his waist. Kanaka Kapisham. And then Vaijayanti Chamalam. He was wearing a garland which is called Vaijayanti Mala, which never fades, who is always glorifying Krishna. Rantram Venu. His beautiful with bamboo made with the flute. Adara Sudaya. It was touching the lotus lips of Krishna. Urayan Gopa Vrindaihi. Urayan Gopa Vrindaihi means he was singing, he was playing the flute, and it was heard in the whole Gopa Vrinda. In the whole Vrindavanya, it was heard. Vrindaranyam. Vrindaranyam means he is entering into. Aranya means forest. Vrinda means Vrindavanam. Vrindaranyam Swapada. Swapada means on his own Ramanam. Ramanam means Krishna's lotus feet is so beautiful. Ramanam has got two meanings. One will give pleasure and also it is beautiful. So he was wonderful feet. Swapada Ramanam. Pravishat. He was entering into. Pravishat means entering Gita Giti. And then the gopis were glorifying the Lord. So these are the two verses which attracted. This verse you recite and memorize this verse. Beautiful verse. So you can meditate on Krishna, how Krishna is entering into Vrindavan. He was having a peacock feather. He was having walking. He was not walking. He was dancing, and then his hips were bedecked with jewelries, and then he was wearing a Vaijayanti garment, and then he was entering Vaijayanti garment, and he was his ears were bedecked with Karnikaram flowers, Kanaka Kabisham, Vaijayanti Malam, Rantaram Venu, and then he was having a wonderful bamboo flute, which was touching his lotus lip. With that, he was singing the glories of, and he was and he was playing the flute. Vrindaranyam, he was entering into Vrindaranyam, Swapadaranam with his own beautiful lotus feet, and that's why his marks in the Vrindavan, it is mentioned that when he enters, all the marks, that's why Akrura was able to see uh, the marks of Krishna's lotus feet when he entered Vrindavan, because the cows, the calves, the monkeys, nobody will disturb when Krishna is putting his Swapada Ramanam, his own lotus feet, without any sandals. And then Yashoda Mother told, why you are not wearing slippers? He says, can you put the slippers for all the cows and calves? So he said that unless they wear the cows and cows wear the slippers, I will not wear. So he was not wearing any slippers. And that's why in Vrindavan, we should avoid wearing slippers. That's what they recommend. So Swapada Raman, he was entering nicely. And then his feet was there. And then this is a beautiful description of Krishna, 10th canto, 21st chapter. And this verse can be memorized as many times as you want, and you can remember this verse. So that you can remember Krishna and also the quality of Krishna. Every day we can recite, especially the Purushottama Math is coming, we can memorize this verse and remember his beautiful form. And therefore, now here in the Prabhupada mentions is the purport, Alakshitaha and Pauraihi. Prabhupada said the sadhu should not be judged based on appearance, but by from hearing him. Appearance may be deceptive, and therefore we should not think that based on Kantimala and Kurta and judge, you cannot judge. You cannot judge me because the people who are here, you are maybe more elevated than me. Definitely, there is no, we cannot judge any living entity. The people who are hearing Krishna Katha, they are not in the lower platform than the person who is preaching. No way, no way. Always, every living entity has got unique connection with Krishna, and their level of consciousness is different. And therefore, we cannot judge anybody, and especially a sadhu, because he is wearing this, we cannot judge the person. And therefore, it is very important we should not judge a sadhu based on his appearance. And therefore, we should hear from him. And that is very important. And that's what we can see a nice pastime from the base of Bhagavatam, that the same type of experience happened. Just the same Unmata, Jata, and then Anda, and then Badira, deaf. And so we can see the same thing happened for Jatabarda. Jatabarda was, from the page of fifth canto of the Bhagavatam, he was a very nice devotee, Mahabhagavata. Bhagavatam tells he was the king of the whole earthly planet, and he was and he left everything. He renounced everything and went to the forest. But because of the attachment to the deer, he became a deer in the next life. But as a deer, he recognized his mistake, and then he associated with saints and sages, and then the next time he got a body. And this time when he got the body, he was born as a Brahmana. And he was the 10th child. But he was very careful this time that I will not be affected by any material implication. Just like Shukadeva Goswami, he decided to be like a Jada. Jada means one who is dull, who doesn't react, to anything. Completely deaf, dumb, whatever people say. People defame him also, he doesn't have. So the moment from born he was child, he was like that. And his father tried that being a Brahmana, you should become a Vedic scholar. But he tried to send him to, but he was not understanding. He was doing everything opposite. He was not having bath sometimes. So he was behaving very peculiarly, like a Jada, and suppose he doesn't have to use the bath, he doesn't use to comb his hair. So his father was worried. But however, by providence, his father has to pass away, and then he has to be with his brothers. And these brothers doesn't have any mercy on him because his father loved him very much. But it's because the father has two wives, one of the wives through which he came. So the Jadabarda and the other brothers, step brothers, they become envious of him. Not envious, they thought him that he is a dull-headed, and they disregarded him as no use in associating with him. And therefore, they were giving some spices and grains and all infected with worms. So, but he never used to grudge. He used to take the prasadam, and he was very stout. He was very strong. Bhagavatam tells. So he used to be completely renounced. And one day, what happened? He was looking after the paddy field, and the paddy field which his father has got. So his brothers told him, "You just take care because the wild pigs and others will come and eat. So you just take care." So he was looking after. So what happened at the time? There was a devotees of Mahakali, Bhadrakali. So the Bhadrakali, there were some devotees, and they were looking for Narabali. Narabali means they want to give bali of a human being. So they were looking for a stout person to whom they. When they encountered, they came to the party field and found that Jadabarda was there. And Jadabarda was never reacting. He was deaf, dumb, and he was mad. And he was Unmatta. Unmatta means he was completely mad. Mad means he was never exposing. Here, internally they are very alert. Externally, they are lazy. They are dull. So this is how devotee means internally we should be alert. Externally we may not. Doesn't matter. That is the quality of Paramasad. We cannot imitate these people because they are very exalted. So we cannot imitate that, but we have to be very careful. And internally we should be alert in the devotion service. Just like the dogs. The dogs may be sleeping, but the moment somebody comes, it becomes alert. The dog has got quality, and therefore it is very alert. And therefore he was very alert in the devotion service, but however he was looking like a dull and dumb man. So they took him and they thought that they can chop his head, and Bali can be given to Parvati, Durga Mata, and she will be happy. The Bhadrakali Kali Mata will be happy. So they decided, and they bathed him nicely, and they did all the yajnas, whatever mantras they want to recite. They decided, and then when they was about to kill, and with the sword, they kill him from his head. So they decided everything. At that time, what happened? Moment they were about to take the sword, then the deity burst open from there, and then the Mahakali came out, and she could not tolerate a pure devotee is being hurt. Because even though she is the Durga Mata, she is looking after the material world, Mahamaya, but she cannot tolerate a devotee is being insulted. So, pure devotee means she gives protection to the devotees. And here she gave the protection, and she killed all the asuras, all the demonic people who were trying, the Bhadrakali worshippers. And then she drank the blood also of all those people. And then Jatabarda was completely oblivious of what is happening. He was like a Jata. Jata means he was completely dead. So he was taken into this, and he was about to be killed. He didn't react. He was not killed. He didn't react completely. A devotee means should be sober. This is sobriety. Sobriety to the highest level. But we cannot imitate this level of consciousness. But at least we should tolerate all the material miseries, small miseries coming in our life. This we should cultivate. We cannot become like Jatabarta one day. He's a pure devotee of the Lord because he's a Mahabhagavata. He was on the Baba stage. So we cannot compare him to ourselves. So we are not in the, that's why we should not hanker to have the Bhavas, and we should not have the Rasas and all. No, that is not our stage. We are still in the neophyte stage of tasting Krishna consciousness. We don't have the taste even for the holy names. The moment we finish 17 rounds or 18 rounds, we just drop the beats and we want to do other activities. So we don't have the taste. So we should not say that we have become like Jadapatha. We should never imitate. We should take from them the lessons and how we have to become neutral in this world. How we should not be affected by the material dualities in this world. which is nothing but happiness and distress, auspiciousness, inauspiciousness, good, bad, and then profit and loss. All these things will happen in the life. We should not get disturbed. And therefore, what has happened? His life was saved, and then he went ahead. And then when he went ahead, Bhagavatam tells very nicely that he was one day the king Raguna was known as Sindhu and Sauvira was going to Kapilashrama. When he was going, Ravuna, the king, was going, and he saw that the palanquin carriers were carrying the palanquin for Ravuna. But one of the carriers was not well, so he has to drop. And therefore, there were only three people. So they were looking for somebody who can help him. And then they saw Jadabarda was there at that place. So he took that person, and then he said, "You please help us in this." Jadabarda said, "No problem. I have to carry. I will carry." So he started carrying him nicely. But however, because it is said in the pages of the Bhagavatam that all the palanquin carriers were Shudras, they were not having any concept that killing the ants while walking in the forest. So, but however, this Jadabarda was so conscious that he doesn't want to hurt because he doesn't want to be implicated in this for any sins. He was pure chanter, pure chanting of the holy names, completely absorbed in Krishna Katha. So he doesn't want to get distracted. Even for a small sin, he would have come in because he was very much worried that a small things he attracted to the deer. He got another two time lifetimes. So he was going to be very careful. Bhagavatam tells we have to be very careful. We may lose this human body at any time and may get an animal body. So we have to be very careful. The consciousness. So the consciousness we should develop should be always absorbed in Krishna. Deyam Sada Paribhavo. So this is very important. So what has happened? He was very careful not to even hurt the hands, not to kill the hands. So he was jumping every time. And then this was creating a mold in the Raghuguna. Raghuguna became a little angry and he said, what is happening? Why are you shaking the palanquin like this? I'm getting disturbed. I'm sleeping and why are you disturbing my slumber? So then what happened afterwards? Then um, then the other then it was going on for some time. Again, he was seeing the shake. It is becoming vigorous, so he became very upset and he started shouting at the palanquin carriers and said that I want to kill you. I will send you to the Yamaraja's place. Why you are doing like this? Then they were very afraid. All other palanquin, other than Jadabarta, they immediately told, no, it is not because of us. We have taken new person who is creating all this problem. Then immediately he sarcastically said, so what? You are not a stout man. You are not a healthy man. You cannot carry me nicely. Why you are shaking this? And then he was sarcastically telling that. And then after that, and then he was abusing him also. And he told, you are a rascal. He became very angry with him. And he told, Raghugunna told, Jadapada, you are a rascal. Why you are doing like this? So he was very upset. And then upset was there. And we can see the Raghugunna anger multifold it increases. But however, Jatapartha was completely peaceful, and then he decided to give Bhagavatam. I heard from one of the sources that this Raghupuna is nothing but he was a deer in the first appearance. I don't have any other from the Vedic literatures or something like that, Shastric evidence, but I heard from some devotee. So what has happened? He was the deer whom he was attached. So he wanted to, because he was a Mahabhagavata, he has got compassion for the deer, and therefore he wants to liberate. So Raghuguna came as a deer, and Jadabartha came as Jadabartha. And then Jadabartha, because of his compassion, who did not speak, who was dumb, who was mad, he started speaking Bhagavatam. And he said, yes, I accept that I am not, the soul is not stout, the soul is not strong, the soul it doesn't have any, and I have no connection with this body. So I am different from this body. Yes, the soul is not strong. So all these things he tells. The moment he tells that, Ravuguna, and then he gives 2, 3 explanation that I am not this body and I am different. And he gives the Bhagavad Gita. The moment he hears, then Raghuguna understands that this person is not an ordinary person because he is also a devotee. He immediately falls down. Bhagavatam tells that he descended from the palanquin and just jumped out of the palanquin and fall at the feet of Jadabartha. And then he asks the instructions. Bhagavatam tells this very nice story that because of the appearance was deceptive. He was mad, and therefore the same way. So he was mad, he was dull, and he was deaf and dumb. All this. But however, when he started speaking Bhagavatam, he could understand the glories. And then Bhagavatam tells that 5th canto, 10th chapter, 11, 12, 13. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 5 chapters describes the qualities of Jadabartha, and the discussion with Raghuguna. 10, 11, and 12 and 30. 11, 12, 13. And 11th is very important because 11th chapter there are only 17 verses, and this 17 verses tells how the mind is the most, and then it is mentioned how the mind covers the constitutional portion of the soul. Jahi Valikam Swayamatma Mosham. 5th canto, 11th chapter, 17th verse. When you have time, how we have to serve the spiritual master with the weapon of service to the spiritual master and Krishna, and thereby control the mind. It is a very nice purport. You can read Prabhupada writes, very small purport, only 5, 11, 17. And all the verses talks about the mind. How the mind corrupts. Evam manaha karma vasham prayate. How mind is fruitive mentality. How it covers the constitutional position. Jahi valikam swayamatma mosham. Even though it is not factual, it is covers. So nice instruction given by Jataparada to Raghupana. So even though his appearance was deceptive. Same way Shukadeva Goswami, even though he was deceptive, but however, nobody could understand. But he was to give Bhagavatam to the people. So that's what we saw about um, um, Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami, now we will go into the next verse, which is talking about Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj is such an exalted person. So you can see Parikshit Maharaj is considered here Rajarishi. Prabhupada writes, and here we will discuss about that also. Rajarishi, how is a Rajarishi? How Bhagavatam tells that very nicely that is before the birth he was Krishna conscious. How when Uttara, Abhimanyu's wife, was seeing the Brahmastra was aimed by Ashwatthama to kill the lost progeny of the Pandavas. So he sends that Brahmastra to kill. And then Uttara, Krishna is about to leave to Dwaraka, and then Uttara runs to Krishna. And it is 1:8:9. Very nice verse. It's very nice verse. Whenever we are in difficulty, we should recite Pagi Pagi Mahayogin Deva Deva Jagatpate Nanyantat Apayam Pashe Yadda Mrityu Parasparam. It is 1:7:9. Whenever time permits, you can recite this. He says, Pagi Pagi, please protect, please protect. And then she says, Mahayogin, you are the greatest of the mystics. Deva Deva, for worshipful of the worship. And then Jagatpate, Lord of the universe. There is no other person. No, Natwam Anye. Anye means I don't know anybody other than you. Abhayam, you can only give me fearlessness. And then Pashe, I see only Yettar Mitri Parasparam, in the world of duality, where the birth and death, where there is happiness and distress. Please, please come out and protect, because you can also kill myself. You can kill me, but Brahmastra let it kill me, but it not kill my child in the womb. So she prays to Krishna, and Krishna, there are two versions. One is in the Bhagavatam version is different, and Mahabharata version is different. Bhagavatam version says that Krishna entered the womb and protected the Brahmastra and attacking the Parikshit Maharaj in the womb. But another one, it says in the Mahabharata that he was burnt and then he came as a lump of flesh, and then Krishna make him alive when he comes. That is a two different version. And because the first version is in Bhagavatam also is valid, because he saw the darshan of the Lord. So the darshan of the Lord made him think that Parikshit Maharaj, that the moment he saw the Krishna with the four-handed form, so Kavacha Kundala and Pitambara, Prasanna Bhaktam Nalina Yatekshanam Kadamba Kinchalka Pishanga Vashasham. Bhagavatam says that 2:9 very nicely describes how the super soul exists, and the same super soul moved into the womb of Uttara to protect Krishna, to protect the Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj saw he was very much attracted, and therefore Bhagavatam tells that Parikshit means he started examining, and that's why you will see in the next verse. So he started examining whether this is Krishna, the person whom I see in the womb, this is the person. So from the womb, he had Krishna's association. So that's why he's such an exalted. And therefore we can see, and after his birth also, it was nicely mentioned that Bhagavatam tells the first canto, 12th chapter, his birth was also excellent. Where what is said in the Bhagavatam, that very nicely, all the constellation, all the planetary systems moved auspiciously, just like when Krishna was appearing in the Janmashtami day. In the same way, all the planetary system moved nicely, because our life is based on our astrology. Astrology is not a myth; it is a fact. It is based on mathematical calculation, and it is absolute fact. And because of the planetary positions were good, and some people are getting rich, some people are having poor. These are all based on that. Some people come to devotional service, some people doesn't come to devotional service. Everything is based on the planetary position, and this planetary position was arranged for Parikshit Maharaj so wonderfully, and he had a wonderful birth. And therefore, the moment he was born, And then all the samskaras were done. Samskaras, Garbhadana samskara, Srimanda samskara. So many samskaras are there, which is very much necessary. Even for Krishna, the samskaras were done by Nanda Maharaj. So the samskaras are very important. As a devotee, we should not ignore it. These samskaras were done by for Parikshit Maharaj, was done for the devotees. So the Srimanda samskara, the Garbhadana samskara, all these samskaras, marriage samskaras, Shanti samskaras, so many samskaras are there. And these samskaras, we should not leave at any time. Don't make it as a ritual. Do it under the context of Krishna. And that should be offered to Krishna. And that's why it should be done. Where Krishna was, it should be in the center. So don't do it as a ritual. Do it with devotion. So all the nice services were done. All the samskaras were done. And then when he appeared, Yudhishthira Maharaj gave a lot of charity to all the people. He was so much endeared. And then he started asking, who will be this person? Can you tell me? How nice you will be? Can you tell me? And then moment Maharaj Yudhishthira asked this question, then the devotees, the sages, Daumya and Kripa, all these rishis, they were there doing the purification process. They started telling all the sages assembled in the assembly of Yudhishthira Maharaj. They started telling this is called Vishnu Ratha because he has been protected and he is a Mahabhaga. Mahabhaga means Bhagavatam tells 112:17. He is most fortunate and Mahabhagavatam. He is a first class devotee of the Lord, qualified by all good qualities. Bhagavatam tells. So Yudhishthira Maharaj specifically asked the question whether this person will become a Rajarshi, and then the sages says that he will be in maintenance. He was so wonderfully maintained like Ikshvaku. He will be in Brahminical principle. He will be like Lord Rama. Like in charity, he will be like Sibi. Spread the name of the dynasty like Bharata, son of Dushyanta. He will be like bowmanship. He will be like Arjuna, and then he will be like Krishna. And the following is all will be a Rajarishi, and there is no doubt about it. And then all this is come. So many things in glorification of Parikshit Maharaj is there. So then he was called a Rajarishi because when he was alive, he was when he was managing the principles, he was guided by three things. Three things are there, very important. Bhagavatam tells that Rajarishi should run the kingdom on the three conditions. First canto, 9th chapter, 12th verse. Vipra, Dharma, Achyutashraya. Three things are required. Vipra means Brahmanas or spiritual masters or Vaishnavas should be guided by them. Dharma, follow the religious principles under the guidance of spiritual master. And then what they should do while doing the devotional service, and they should take Achyutashraya. Achyutashraya means they should take shelter of Krishna. And all the Pandavas were doing it, and also, and in fact, Bhishma is telling these were doing, and Parikshit Maharaj is also doing. And that's why you can see when he heard the Krishna Katha, he became excited. When he heard the Pandavas stories, relationship with Krishna, when he heard the Mahabharat from the sages, he became enlivened. There is a nice verse, 1:16:16 of Bhagavatam. Saratyapada sadasevana sakya dautya Veera Sananugumanasthavana Pranaman Snigdeshu Panduchu Jagatpana Dimja Vishnu Bhaktim Garoti Nipatis Charanarabinde. He saw that the Pandavas were malleable to the will of the Lord. Snigdeshu is the word, very important. And then the Krishna became malleable to the will of the whatever services Krishna, the Pandavas wanted, he did. He became a watchman, he became a messenger, he became a chariot driver. He did everything for the sake of the Pandavas because of the loving devotion. And hearing this pastime, Parikshit Maharaj's devotion increases unlimitedly. Bhaktim karodi nipatis charanara. He immediately fell at the feet of Krishna. He says, this Krishna who is being worshipped by all the Rajasuya Yajna as the primary person, they worshipped him as as the primary person. They worshipped him. We offered him, they bathed his legs, and they bathed his legs, they washed his legs, and they gave him as Rajasuya Yajna, the chief person. That person is doing the menial services. You see, that is the quality of the Lord. And therefore, never we should think in devotional service, we should not do anything. Any menial thing, we should be ready to do. And that's why the devotee, real devotee means he will do any time. And that's best example is uh, what is his name? I forgot. His photo is kept in the Ratha Yatra. I forgot his name. His name is uh, I forgot his name. Anybody?
His Grace Jayananda Thakur. His Grace
Huh?
Jayananda Thakur. His Grace Jayananda Thakur.
Jayananda, correct. The Jayananda was an exalted devotee that so he used to do all the rags and all. He will do everything and he will never be in the center. And therefore, here Krishna did the menial service. I mean, Krishna can do how much menial service we should be ready to do. And therefore, that is very important. that we have to do the service to Krishna in such a way. And therefore, when Parikshit was ruling, he was not allowing any Kali to enter. At the time Kali enters, and he was so much protective of the cows and the Brahmanas, and also which is mentioned, there are about COWBC. Bhagavatam tells some, you will come to know, cows to be protected, and then old people to be protected, women to be protected, COWBC, cow BC. Five things are very important. Protection. Cows, then old people, women, then uh, brahmanas, and then C mean the child. So cows, child, brahmanas, old people, and women. All these are to be protected. And that's why he was doing it nicely. Very nicely it is mentioned in the pages of the Bhagavatam. And therefore, he was following this the scientific system, Varnashrama Dharma. He was taking shelter of the Brahmanas. He was taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. He was taking and he was doing all the Pitru Tarpanas and all whatever is required, satisfy the Pitrus. And then he was taking care of the other living beings also. So he was doing all the things as a Raja Rishi. And he was always guided by the Brahmanas. He never took any action on his own because he was always absorbed in Krishna consciousness. It's the Mahabhagavata. And therefore, the people were very happy. And the taxes, see, the people, he not only wanted to improve his devotion service, he improved the devotion service of everybody. And therefore, what has happened those days, now the politicians are they're interested in their own money. But on those days, he was interested everybody should make more money. And he was charging tax. Suppose he earns 2 lakhs, means he pays only 10,000, not 1 lakh has to pay a tax. Now here, if you see, if you earn 8 lakhs, you have to pay 40% tax. If you earn more than 10 lakhs, you have to pay 40% tax. How the people can survive here? But those days, the taxes were so minimal, and people were eager to pay the taxes. And the cows were very happy. The brahmanas were very happy. And then the fields, the earth was very happy because it was ruled Vipra Dharma Achyuta Ashraya. They were following the principles of Bhakti, their principles of Sanatana Dharma. And because of the Sanatana Dharma of people, everybody was happy. And everybody is improving in their material things also. The government will not be envious. Suppose somebody makes more money, they become envious. But here, they are not envious. They were so merciful and and he was so merciful to all the living entities assembled there. And therefore, everyone has to improve business wise, financially, and they were very happy. And also, all the riches and all the fields were yielding so much of grains, unlimited copious amount of grains. So everybody was happy, and therefore he was really a Rajarishi. And then this was the position when he was alive. And then such an exalted person. Bhagavatam tells that very nicely that he decided to quit. He didn't decide. Krishna decided that you should listen to Bhagavatam. Then Bhagavatam tells very nicely, 1:4:12 is going to come now. It's a very important verse. This is very much important to see how we should be a devotee. Devotee means he doesn't look after himself. He looks for the welfare of the others. Real Raja Rishi, we can see in the form of Parikshit Maharaj. He says very nicely, Shivaya Lokaya Bhavaya Bhutaye ये उत्तमश्लोकपरायणा जनाः जीवन्ति नात्मामृतम् आशु पराश्रयम् मुमोच निर्वेद्य कुटाकलेवरम्. Says those who devoted to the cause of the personality of Godhead, 1:4:12, devoted live only for the welfare and development of happiness of others. So they always, that's why always they are welfare of the others. That means the devotee doesn't take anything for himself. He is always never thinks about his body, never thinks about. That means this is the quality of the devotee. That's why real humility means he never thinks about himself. He always thinks less of himself. Less of himself means he doesn't have time to think about himself. He only has time to think about others. So welfare and development. They do not live for any selfish interest. So even though Emperor Parikshit was free from all attachment of worldly possession, he was completely detached. He was a Raja Rishi. How he could give up his mortal body, which was a shelter for others? He was giving shelter for others. Why he gave up the body? And that's what we can see. How he did it. You can see how he accepted the death also. That is the beauty of, he is teaching the art of dying very nicely. Art of living, he was doing as a Raja Rishi, and he was about to be, he could have lived for so many years. And therefore, the Saunaka Rishis, they are very much worried. Such a Raja Rishi, why he has to leave the body? They want to know. They were so inquisitive to know about him. And then Bhagavatam tells that how he, the past time that he was going into the forest and then he put a dead snake on Samika Rishi. Samika Rishi was supposed to receive it because Bhagavatam tells that 18th chapter that any devotee, any king comes, he is the representative of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he has to be honored as Supreme Personality, and he has to be given at least something to eat or drink. But nothing was given. Samika was absorbed in fully in meditation, and then he ignored, and then Parichet Maharaj was little upset and he put the dead snake. The moment he put the dead snake, it was a very insignificant. Bhagavatam tells it's a very insignificant offense. But however, Shringi took the offense. Brahmanas, Bhagavatam tells that the Brahmanas in the Kali Yuga, they are Asuras. And therefore, Shringi was the first Asura. He cursed Parishit Maharaj. Parishit Maharaj, such a Mahabhagavata. Why he has to be cursed? He was cursed by him. And then what he did? And then he goes and tells Shringi, he cries that I have cursed him. And then he goes to Samigiri. Samigiri says, even if you curse him, he will not counter curse you. Bhagavatam says, he will not counter curse, he will not react. Just like Jadaparta, he will not react. He will say, everything is okay for me. And that's what Parishit Maharaj said. There is a nice verse in the Bhagavatam. You can read whenever time. And this is the quality. The devotee never retaliates. He always take a step back and never retaliates. Retaliation is only for those who are animals. So animals only retaliate. Human beings, they think about and they don't retaliate. We can respond, but we should not retaliate. And there is a nice verse in the Bhagavatam. Tiraskrida Vipra 1:18-48. Tiraskrida Vipralubdaha Shaptaha Shitaha Kiptaha Atapi Nasa Tatpriti Gurvanti Tadbhakta Prabho Api. He says Tiraskrita, being defamed, and then Vipralabda, being cheated. Sapta, being cursed, now he is being cursed. Shipta, disturbed by negligence. Ataha, or even being killed, now he is being cursed and killed. Also, Api also, never, Asya. Pratit Asya Tat Prit Gurvanti. He will never counteract. Tat Lord Bhakta, Prabho. Prabho means he is very powerful. So here he says that he did not react. He was cursed and he was killed by Sringi, but he didn't react. This is the quality of the devotee because the main purpose of Parishit Maharaj is that I have lived a life. Now I have done a mistake. Then Bhagavatam tells very nicely, 1 Canto 19, chapter 1, he regrets for his mistake and he says that I should not, and he says, let my whole family be destroyed. Let my whole culture should be, my family be destroyed. I am not the family, I should be destroyed. My family should not be affected. Let me be destroyed. Because all my inauspicious thinking that I did that act or the mental attitude of putting the dead snake on Samika Rishi, it is not at all auspicious. Therefore, I don't deserve to live. And let me be cursed to death. That doesn't matter. And then he was already made. He became repentant. Repentant heart means Krishna comes and occupies. And then because he was repentant, and then he saw Krishna in the curse. How? There is a nice verse. First Canto, 19th chapter, 14th verse. Beautiful verse. Our Maharaj loved this verse. Tasaiva megasya paravaresho vyasakta chitta sagrigesha vishnam nirveda mulo dvijasa rupo yatta prashakto vayamashu datte. He says, Nirveda Mula Dvijasaparva. Now we know Keshava Dhruta Narahari Rupa. We always see Krishna in the Narahari form, correct? Keshava Dhruta Sarira. We say no in that we Narahari Rupa we saw. We saw the Krishna in the form of Narahari, in the form of Narsimha. But here he says Dvijasaparupa. I am seeing death. I am seeing this detachment in the form of I am seeing the hand of Krishna. Dvijasaparupa. Prabhupada writes in the purport, when you have time, please read this. The Supreme Controller of Bharat is both a transcendent material words. He has graciously overtaken. Grace means he thinks the mercy of Krishna that this Sapa is good for him to listen to Bhagavad. See the beauty, quality of the devotee, exalted quality of Parishit Maharaj, and that's why he is called a Rajarishi, and that's why he is called the Mahabhagavata. He accepted the curse. Grace overtook me in the form of Brahmana curse due to my being too much attached. Actually, he was not attached. He was a Rajarishi. He was completely detached. In order to save me, has appeared before me in such a way, only out of fear, I will detach myself. He is not fearful. He is a completely fearless person. He doesn't abhayam, completely abhayam, because he was a Rajarishi. He was completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. He was completely detached. There is no need. But what purpose he did? Because Krishna wanted the Bhagavatam to be heard through him. Sukadeva Goswami has to come and they have to discuss Bhagavatam. And therefore, he wanted to discuss the Bhagavatam. He made Parishit Maharaj to enact this role. So never think that Parishit Maharaj made the mistake of putting the dead snake. No, no, no. It was Krishna's arrangement. It was not his willful act. It was, but he took it as a willful act. A devotee always think that he is a mistake. That's why, just like Yudhishthira Maharaj, always feels at the end of the battle. He said, I killed 64 lakhs, 64 crores people. He was feeling guilty. No need to feel. And then they said, you do Yasume Yajna, everything goes. Even though Yasume Yajna was done, he was not pacified. He said, I have killed the people. I have killed the people. Always the devotee accepts the blame. He never blames anybody. But what we will do, we blame our mother, we blame our father, we blame our everybody in this world. This is not a quality of devotee. Here, Parishit Maharaj blamed himself for this and accepted the curse in the form of Dujasaparupa. Therefore, be accepted, and therefore he was seeing the hand of Krishna, and he sat there, and then how we met. Bhagavatam tells that here, Prabhupada writes how the transcendental was possible for the great transcendental essence of Bhagavatam. How the great met this, and then you see the mood of Parishit Maharaj. Parishit Maharaj went to the bank of Ganges, and then he recites this verse when he meets Sukadeva Goswami, who is a liberated person, was completely absorbed in Krishna Katha. He says that beautiful verse 119:36. This is the quality of every disciple to follow in our lives. Anyata ye vyakta gate 119:36. Darshanam nan katanam nunam itaram mriyamananam samsiddha vaniyashaha. He says that otherwise, without being inspired by Krishna, how is that you have voluntarily appeared here? Though you are moving incognito to the common man. Incognito, we saw here. Incognito, that Sukadeva Goswami, he went into the Kuru Jangala for forest and entered into the city of Hastinapura also. He entered that. But nobody could recognize him. Incognito, the common man, he is not visible to the common man who are on the verge of death. And this is the quality of a disciple, how we should behave when he approaches spiritual master. And therefore, we have to see nicely in the purport Prabhupada writes how we have to utilize this is a costless mercy. Because this we have to say, we are not interested. I came to Abu Dhabi not for not for meeting Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj or I meet the devotees, but I came for the purpose of just making money. But Maharaj came. It's a real costless mercy. Maharaj came into my life. I don't deserve to see him, but he was very merciful to give his darshan to me. I didn't go to him. He came on his own. He came to Abu Dhabi and he met us. See the merciful nature of the exalted devotees. They come to you. The spiritual master has come to you as a mercy. Don't think him for granted. Don't treat him as an ordinary living entity. The moment we think, we are fallen. Please, please, please. You have to be very careful in dealing with the spiritual master. So Prabhupada writes the purport very nicely. I will discuss those points and then we will close. One can achieve the nucleus of devotion service of the Lord by the mercy of the spiritual. Nucleus means the prime essence of the devotion service is to do devotion service without any motivation and without any interruption. That is the motive. That is unmotivated. Akaituki apratiyata. And then the spiritual master is the manifested representative. He is the manifested representative to help us to achieve ultimate success. One can achieve the ultimate success going back if he is favored by the Lord's pure devotee. So if you are favored by a pure devotee, you are guaranteed. As soon as the true representative of the Lord is met by a devotee, suppose we met a devotee of the Lord, as soon as the representative of the Lord is met by a devotee, we are not even devotee, the devotee is assured of guarantee of going back to God. So that is the mercy. And Prabhupada nicely said how the mercy has come voluntarily. Voluntary means that's what he says, no? It is nicely mentioned. For one's movements are invisible. Vriyamanam. So how it is possible? Katam, same word katam is used. And Prabhupada writes, two things are required for the devotee. One is we have to become a devotee. Devotee means then only which is merciful. We have to become a devotee means we have to be devoted. So what is the devotion service? What is Tesham Satatu Yuktanam Bhajatam Preeti Purvagam. Preeti Purvagam is we have to do loving devotion service. When we chant the holy names, when we hear the Bhagavatam, we should hear with attention and love. We should hear eager, and that love should be there. Without the love, Preeti Purvagam is not there, then we cannot attract the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And then we have to become sincere in doing the devotion service. And therefore, this is the quality of two exalted personalities, the listener and the speaker of Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami, and then we saw the listener, Parishit Maharaj. And we will close with a nice verse which was spoken by Rupa Goswami in 7th canto, 5th chapter, 23rd, 24th verse, which talks about Prahlad Maharaj's verse, Shavanam Kirtanam Vishnu. He talks about the 9 process of devotional service. There, Rupa Goswami says very nicely that if you do one activity of the 9 limbs of the devotion service perfectly, then you can become perfect. No need to do other aspects of the devotion. It is nicely mentioned. The verse goes like Rupa Goswami says, Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshit Abhavat Vaiyasaki Kirtane Prahlada Smarane Tadangri Bhajane Lakshmi Pratu Pujane Akruras Prabi Ambyananane Kapipatir Dasye Tasake Juna Nivedana Bahirabhut Krishna Patir Param says Parikshit Maharaj attained salvation by hearing. Sukadeva Goswami attained simply by chanting. Prahlad Maharaj attained salvation by remembering. The goddess of fortune Lakshmi Devi attained perfection by worshipping the Lord lotus feet. Prithu Maharaj attained perfection by worshipping the deity of the Lord. Akrura attained salvation by offering prayers. Hanuman by rendering service. Arjuna by establishing friendship with the Lord. And Bali Maharaj complete service. So any of the 9 devotional service, we do it, we become perfect. Such is the quality of Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj goalies are unlimited. It is mentioned in first canto, second canto, third canto, and the eagerness. He is going to die within 7 days. His absorption is perfect. Because Bhagavatam tells he has got 3 things. He was alert in the devotion service. Alert means always alert. And then Sukadeva Goswami is also alert, very alert. He looks outside. He was jata. He was looking unmatta and all. He was looking like mad. He was looking like dull. But inside he was alert. Now every question asked by Parishit, Sukadeva Goswami has answered. So you cannot judge Sukadeva Goswami based on on the bodily platform, and therefore Maharaj Parishit is a Mahabhagavata. But even though he is a Mahabhagavata, he has to be under the lotus feet of Sukadeva Goswami to hear the Bhagavatam. So then only he can get the full Bhagavatam, and this whole Bhagavatam, he has sacrificed his life just for the sake of us. Imagine the quality of Parishit Maharaj. He has given his life, just like Prabhupada has given his life. Morning 9, 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, he has written the Bhagavatam verses, and we don't have time to read. Please, I request Prabhuji's and Mataji's Prabhupada books to be read. Before we read any other books, we should read the Prabhupada books. It is very, very important. Because Prabhupada books are the basis. This is the principle. So this principle should not be left. And Prabhupada books are so transcendental. And the verses are so wonderful. Please take time. Purushottam Mass is coming. Please take time to read Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita. All these literatures must be read along with the chanting. Try to allocate 15 minutes, 20 minutes of your time. And that is very good. And that's why we can understand the glories of the Lord. And whatever verses I told, please read it and you can understand. Now we will stop here. Hare Krishna. Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Ananta Gauri Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shukadev Goswami ki jai. Shri Shri Parikshit Maharaj ki jai. Jai Gaura Premanande. Ananta Gauri Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Vancha Kalputapishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Hare Krishna Babaji, thank you very much for giving me opportunity. Now, any questions, any things you can share. No problem. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, for a wonderful class, very nice described by you. And we're thankful. And there is a question, even at the time of Parikshit Maharaj, people were not able to recognize the sadhu like Parikshit Maharaj, like Sukadeva Goswami. How we will recognize in current age of Kali?
That's a very good question. Excellent, Prabhu. Actually, Parikshit Maharaj was Parikshit Maharaj, even at the time of Parikshit Maharaj, people are not able to recognize sadhu. Yes, how we will recognize? In this age, Prabhu, we have to, because there are so many sadhus, so many cheating is going on. So, even if you see as appearance may be different, but what we should see is whenever they speak, when they speak, everything comes out. Whether they are really realized souls or not, we'll come to know. So the moment we hear, so appearance, on the basis of the appearance, now there are so many Swamijis who are cheating everybody. You know, that Nityananda, who is having girls and relationship and all, so many people are there. So that's why we should not carry forward by all this. And therefore, it is very important that we should go to a Vaishnava who is worshipping Vishnu. So that is the best way to identify the age of Kali. Always associate the Vishnu Dutas or those who are devotees of Vishnu. That is the best. So they will definitely be exalted. Try to avoid all these people. We should avoid. We don't have to go and associate with them. We should avoid them. This is the best way to avoid all these people who are bogus. So try to avoid associate with a Vaishnava. Always a Vaishnava, whether he's exalted or not exalted, doesn't matter. Associate with him is the best. That is the best Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Even Sri Vaishnavas are good. Don't ignore the Sri Vaishnavas. And Madhava Sampradayas, they are also very good, exalted devotees are there. And then if you go to Ahobilam in South India, then they are all worshippers of Narasimha. They are all very exalted devotees. So you should not say that no, these people are not good. The Sri Sampradayas. Never think that other Sampradayas also, Sri Sampradaya also, lot of exalted devotees are there. So we have to associate with the Vaishnava. And then we should see whether they are glorifying Krishna's forms, transcendental forms and all. By the speech, we can identify. If they are talking impersonal philosophy, we should avoid them. And that's what Amukha Vaishnava. Vaishnava, Mukha, means from there we should not hear. Prabhupada writes in purport 10.1.4. We should avoid them. This is how we should pray. And Krishna, if we sincerely pray, Prabhu Krishna, Krishna will give the sincere soul. The moment we have to be sincere, then Krishna will guide you to the nice person. So ultimately, Krishna sanctions this. Anything else, Prabhu? Is it okay?
Yeah,
Hope
Prabhu,
I
that's
tried.
wonderful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Wonderful answer, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Even though Parikshit is Maharaj is exalted devotee, how he is affected by Kali?
Actually, he was not affected by Kali. It is Krishna's arrangement. Bhagavatam Prabhupada writes in the purport, Krishna wants the Bhagavatam to be told to him. And that's why he put the dead snake on Samika Rishi. So that's what the Bhagavatam tells us. So never you should think that, and if you see the pages of the Bhagavatam, all these people are exalted devotees. Whoever, whether it is Indra, whether it is Parikshit, whether it is Chitraketu, all these people are elevated, pure souls. Krishna wants to enact these pastimes, is using these devotees to do this. Even Arjuna is a Mahabhagavata. Why he became depressed at the battlefield of Kurukshetra? He was such a wonderful warrior because Krishna wants to use them so that Bhagavad Gita can be given. Arjuna was used. And now he is using his grandson, who is Parikshit Maharaj, to give Bhagavad. So he is using Pandavas because Pandavas are very, very dear to him. And Mahabharata says that Krishna knows more about the Pandavas. And once the moment he kills Kamsa, in the Mahabharata it said that he is writing a letter to Dhritarashtra, please take care of the Pandavas, he writes, before even meeting the Pandavas. As per Mahabharata, he has not met the Pandavas, but he has got so much affection for them because he knows they are devotees. And therefore, he used two Pandavas, one Pandava and Upapandava. Upapandava means the grandson of. So Krishna uses the devotees to do thankless job. Brahma was what? He is a Pitamaha. He is a creator. How he can be bewildered by Krishna? It is all Krishna's pastime. To understand the glories of the Lord, and also Krishna uses his devotees to do all these things. Krishna uses the devotees. Please never think that Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, these are all fallen souls. Just like Jatapar, Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, they are all exalted personalities. They are taking the role in a film. A hero may be a villain also, correct? So he takes the role of a villain. That's all. So never think that these people are bad. They are all exalted devotees. They are not like us. So we should not compare them in our material platform. Why he did the mistake? Why this Krishna wants them to make so that the Bhagavatam can come. Okay, Mataji? Mataji is okay?
So, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sajan Priya Prabhu, there is a question yesterday was asked by Sushant Patnaik Prabhu. He is one of our
Okay.
regular congregation devotee, very nice devotee. And he
Okay.
asked yesterday that Dhritarashtra had done sin in previous birth, so he got blind. And all his son got killed except one. But why Gandhari faced the consequences?
Actually, I have not heard from Mahabharata, but I have not read Mahabharata. I heard that she has also done some, I think she has killed some 100 ants or something. One of the birds, she has killed 100 ants and all. And therefore, she has to take the birth and she has to have the 100 children to be killed. And that's why she was born. But actually, she is a Gandhari. Bhagavatam tells is a pure devotee of the Lord. And it is mentioned she is equal to Bhishma, Bhagavatam tells. Prabhupada writes in the purport of first canto, because she has taken a vow of chastity, she wants to get herself blind. And she voluntarily does it. It's but she has to suffer the consequence of losing 100 children because of that. And in fact, you won't believe it, she was so powerful because of the chastity that she told Duryodhana, that you come empty, naked, and I will see that your body is fully protected. But anyway, Krishna interferes and then he puts the gamcha and then goes in front, and then you know the story, correct? So the main thing is that we have to understand Gandhari is an exalted personality. They are being, and also it is mentioned, I have read in some books that 500 birds before, Dhritarashtra killed about 100 birds, small birds he killed, and he also made blind the father bird, and the mother bird also was bird. So he has to suffer the consequence after 50 or 500 births, someone like that. So he has to get the sukurti to get the 100 children to die, and Gandhari also has to suffer this consequence because she has also done some act. Because without doing that, it will not be possible for the persons, because Krishna knows karmano gahano gati. The karmas are there for these living entities, so it will not leave you. Till the karma is finished, you have to endure that. So that's what has happened for Gandhari. Gandhari voluntarily closed because she was chaste. She said that my husband is not seeing, I will not see. And because of the chastity, she was able to curse even Krishna. Krishna Vamsa, your whole Vamsa will be destroyed because my Vamsa is destroyed, and Krishna accepted the curse. Krishna can just retract the curse, but he didn't retract. He said, I am accepting the curse of Gandhari. And then he plans how to eliminate his own family. And Yadu Vamsa, whole Yadu Vamsa was because Gandhari curse. Gandhari was so powerful. Okay. She did voluntarily, Prabhu. She blinded herself. Because she wants to just follow her husband 100%. Such are the exalted personalities, Prabhu. These people are very exalted personalities.
Hare Krishna, Sajan Priya Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. And I think Sushant Prabhu has also satisfied. He has said the answer is right. And thank you so much, Sajan Priya Prabhu and Anup Prabhu, for arranging the class, and all the devotees who are regularly coming online and listening the Bhagavatam. We start every day this session at 5:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. We chant, we pray to the Shikshastakam, 10 offenses. So I request all the devotees wake up in the morning and chant with us, so we feel like we are in the temple. This is like e-temple. So I'm paying my obeisance to you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class and giving us opportunity and the time to associate with you. Please bless us, the congregation, that we will
Yes,
progress and become devotee like you.
Yes. I'm praying, Prabhu. I'm also struggling, Prabhu. I'm just speaking. I'm not practicing devotional service. I don't know which Janma I will practice. But Bhagavatam tells that the moment we meditate on the qualities of the Lord, we can also get those qualities. Because just by Smaran, we get the qualities of those qualities we can imbibe in our lives. It's very difficult, but depends on the quality of the devotee. If he approaches sincerely, he may get the qualities. Because Bhagavatam tells all the qualities, just by meditating on the qualities of the devotees and Krishna, we may acquire some qualities. That is the way. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak Bhagavatam. I fall at the feet of all the devotees assembled here. Vancha kalpadurbhascha kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananda Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Granth ki jai. Jai Gaura
Sajan Priya Prabhu ki jai. Thank you so much.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Gaura.
So we will end the session here. Thank you everybody for the time and association. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.